Hi, I'm Raborn Johnson for Sample Library Review, and today I'm checking out Pacific Ensemble Strings by Performance Samples. Pacific Ensemble Strings is a gorgeously beautiful and incredibly realistic symphonic strings library. With up to 14 dynamic layers across a collection of standard articulations, Pacific Ensemble Strings feels alive and is likely to become the go-to workhorse string library for many composers. Pacific Ensemble Strings requires the full version of Contact 6.6.0 or above. The library downloads at over 29 gigabytes and features up to 14 dynamic layers. Pacific Ensemble Strings is available from Performance Samples for $599, but is currently available for the introductory price of $399 through March 30th, 2023. Owners of either Vista or any of the Conmoto modules can take advantage of Performance Samples loyalty pricing and purchase Pacific Ensemble Strings for $249. Now, for those of you who might not be familiar with Performance Samples, we've reviewed other libraries from them on the channel, but one thing you probably need to know is that they are really unique. Jasper Blanc, who is the founder of Performance Samples and who's responsible for the Performance Samples libraries, he has a different philosophy when it comes to sampling, and it includes really extracting samples directly from performances and not just from individual played notes. So you get this really interesting live and lively quality to the sounds as they feel more like performances than just individually played notes. Now, that can also mean that sometimes there's more noise floor introduced into the recordings, but Pacific Ensemble Strings is probably the best example of a low noise library that Performance Samples makes. And this library is honestly, it sounds incredible, as you're going to know really quickly. We're going to go ahead and dive right into the sounds, but before we do, just want to show you what the folder breakdown is. You can see within each folder, you've got a cellos folder, violas, violins, basses, and a bonus content folder that we'll go over a little bit later. This is a symphonic library. You can see that the sections are larger. They're, definitely a symphonic size string orchestra, 10 cellos, 12 violas, 16 violins, and 8 basses. Couple of things to note about the library. You'll notice that there's only one violins folder. There's not a second violins folder. There's only a first violins folder here. So that's something you'll want to keep in mind. And you'll notice as we go along, these are really meat and potatoes, bread and butter. Wow, it's a lot of food analogies. Bread and butter articulations that you would find in, a go-to workhorse string library. In the past, Performance Samples have really been known for kind of, boutique string libraries and other libraries that have kind of unique articulations. This is really go-to bread and butter. So we're going to dive right in with the cellos. First off is going to be the 10 cellos legato patch. Really, really beautiful. Man, I mean, that... Oh, that just sounds so good. The legato feels so good on that. And one of the cool things about this particular patch is on the legato sustains, you can take the legato mode off and actually just turn it into a sustains patch, which sounds fantastic. Sounds so good. Oh, that just sounds so good. And this library has up to 14 dynamic layers. 14 dynamic layers. And those are really mapped just wonderfully across the mod wheel. I was playing with the mod wheel as I was playing there, just to give you a feel for what you can hear with the dynamics. And it really goes, let's take it all the way down. I mean, it's just so smooth and buttery. I love that. All right, let's go to the whisper sustains. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous patch. Oh, so beautiful. Gosh, it just has this, this library just plays so well. Let's jump up to the marcatos. Now, one of the things about the marcatos that I love, this is an interesting marcatos patch. It's actually a sustained marcatos patch. So it's the marcato articulation, but then it's sustained from there. And this really lends itself really nicely to live playing. One of the things you'll notice in Pacific Ensemble Strings is that there's no staccato patch, which, is kind of unusual for kind of a bread and butter library. But one of the things about the marcatos is you can kind of make do in turning this into a staccato patch, especially as you're playing it live. There is a spiccato, for those really short spiccatos, which we'll get to and sounds great. But the marcatos, it's just a really unusual articulation. I'm just going to place them here. I won't be able to use the mod wheel as I'm going to just kind of play with both hands and let you hear what's going on here. I love that. All right, let's actually listen to the spiccatos. And the spiccatos here are just really short and crisp. And one of the cool things about this library as well is, I've said this in other reviews, I love it when the developer actually tells you what the playback offset is. I mean, there's so many times I have to go dig in manuals and online to try and figure out what the offset is. And here they give it to you, which is just, to me, fantastic. But one of the cool things about this one is to get that full sound, you want to turn it to playback mode. But when you're in playback mode, it's actually, it gives you a fuller sound, but it's a little bit harder to play them live. So if you go to LV for live, you can play it with not quite as much of a, latency in your playing, which makes it just super easy to play. And then you can switch and, put it in playback mode in order to play your MIDI back. And one of the things I love about it is I've tested it out, and you can put these things on the grid and they sound perfect. Ugh, that sounds so fantastic. All right, let's go to, while we're on the shorts, let's do the pizzicato. And the pizzicato, same thing. I'm going to turn it to live. And we have a sordino sustain patch. So of course that means that the cellos are playing with the mutes in place. Let's see if we can do some mod wheel action here for you. Really beautiful. And the trims. And that's one of the things I love about this library is you can tell that the higher dynamic layers, they're not just louder, but they're played more intensely. You can just feel it. You would have to spend some time with the library to really probably understand that. But I don't know if you can tell as I'm playing here. Let me just do that again. Let's start at the bottom. Did you hear that at the top layer? I mean, you can just hear they are really going for it. There's just more noise, there's more excitement, there's more liveliness in that FFF layer. I mean, just that triple forte is just knocking it out of the park. I love that. All right, let's see what else we've got. We've got trills here. And the trills, these are done in both halftone and whole tone. So if you play a halftone, you'll get a halftone trill. If you play a whole tone, you'll get a whole tone trill. See how smooth that is at the mid layer? And you take it back up and you'll really hear, I mean, you can hear them digging into the strings. Let's take that up and let you hear it. I mean, you can just hear them really bouncing on those strings. That's just fantastic. And let's go to the effects. Here's the cluster shorts. So you've got some really cool effects here. And they're mapped all across the keyboard. Really cool. And let's do the cluster rise. And I love that. The lower you are, the longer the rise is, and the higher you go, the shorter the rise becomes. Super duper neat. Okay, let's go to the legato sustains for the violas and see what we've got there. Really gorgeous. All right, let's do the whisper sustains. Or actually, you know what? Let's take the legato off and let you hear the sustain mode here. Gorgeous. All right, let's do the whisper sustains. Oh, so beautiful. Okay, let's go to that marcato patch. And the spiccatos. Let's let that load. It looks like it's taking a little bit longer to load here. A little bit about the interface while we're allowing that to load. You have a close mic control here and you have an AB mic. So this library was completely recorded with close and AB mics. And of course you can, mute those, solo those. You have complete control over those. Again, you have your playback offset. And one thing I'll mention about the violins, I mentioned earlier that there's no second violins folder. Well, you can actually, if you don't know this trick already, you can actually create kind of your own second violins without, repeating samples. If you simply take, another violins patch and actually just transpose it. So, you can use your tune up here and tune down here, and you would actually have, something different that you could use so that you're actually getting different violin samples. You can control over here in your A/B. You've got, let's see, your slope min and max. On your B here, you can compress your velocity and dynamic range. You can compress only the high register or only the low register. You can actually change the envelope for these. So just to give you an idea, well, I can't really, on the spiccato, I mean, you can do it, but you can't really notice as much. I'll show you that on a sustained patch. But anyway, let's go ahead and play the spiccato. Okay, let's go over to the trims. And there is, again, those dynamic layers really kicking in. You can hear just how gentle it is at the lower levels. And as we increase it, listen how these bows dig in. I love that. That is just so dramatic and, that is triple F. Just fantastic. Let's jump over to the trills, and we'll do the same thing on the trills. Let's start low. Really, really cool. Let's jump over to the Sordino sustains. Really gorgeous. That's just such a beautiful, beautiful muted sound. And the pizzicatos? All right, let's go ahead and move over to the violins folder. And let's begin with the legato sustains patch. And again, we're going to go ahead and change. Oh, sorry, that's actually the spiccato that we need to change that to. I was going to say we'll change it to the live mode, but for the legato, you don't have to do that. But again, you can see that you've got your sample offset right here, which is just fantastic. I love that they've done that. I apologize for a little bit of fat fingering there. If you heard some weird things going on there, that was all me. It wasn't the library. Sometimes I have a tendency to hold down, a finger while I'm playing legato. I'll hold something down that I previously played and go back to it. One of the things I love about performance samples that I still have to get in the habit of is using the damper pedal. That's one of the things I love is you can use the damper pedal to actually sustain the note for you. So that allows you to lift your fingers a little bit more and get a cleaner performance. Let's go ahead and take the legato off and just do sustains. And let's go to those whisper sustains. I'll spit it out in a moment. I mean, the dynamic layers are just incredible. You can just really hear the difference. Sometimes when I play string libraries, I can't really tell that much of a difference. As you move, the transition and volume is smooth. Some libraries, obviously, it jumps because the programming is not as good. But even in the best of libraries, you get a smooth transition, but you don't necessarily get differences in playing style, where you can actually hear the performers changing the way they're playing the notes. And you can really do that here. I love that. So cool. Okay, let's go to the spiccatos. And we're going to take this playback and put it on live mode. I'm going to play softly and let you hear. I'm going to go from soft to playing really loud. just so much dynamics going on here. I just love it. Okay, Sordino's sustain. Ugh, the dynamics of this library are just killer. Golly. I know I'm going on and on, but they're really great. Okay, spiccato. Let's change that to live. And the marcatos. And let's do some of the clusters, the short clusters. And let's go to the cluster risers. All right, let's move over to the basses, starting with the bass legato. And let's jump over to the spiccato. And again, we'll put that on the live version. and the marcato. And pizzicato. And the sordino sustains. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the bonus content. There's just a couple of things I want to point out here first. The violins, I'm just going to show you just really quickly. This is a triple F overlay legato sustains. So, with the normal violins, you have 16 violins playing. With this one, it's just 3 violins, but it's 3 violins playing at triple forte just to give you for that loudest layer of legato. If you're playing something like a really thematic melody line and you really need some extra definition, this is a symphonic string library. So obviously it's, bigger sections. So when you need a little more definition for that loudest layer, you can throw these on and put these on top of the violins and just get a little more definition out of it. So it's just a really dramatic sound. And these are the full string patches. So this is a light version of the ensemble, of the full ensemble. So, you can put these in if you want to do, these are great for sketching, by the way. If you want to put these in to write your sketches with, obviously you want to use the full patches for the finished product, but this is a great way to sketch out your work. Let's start with the spiccatos here. And your whisper sustains. And I'm not going to play the mod wheel here. I'm going to play the full thing so you can hear it all. Ooh. And let's just do one more. Let's do the sordino sustains. All right, and lastly, just want to show you a couple of other things. You do have the noise floor wave files for both the close and AB mics here. And the last thing I want to show you is this beautiful solo harp. There's a harmonic patch here, which is kind of hard to hear because it's, it's obviously very quiet. I don't know if you can even hear that, but let's move over to the normal and let you hear this. This is just an absolutely lovely harp sound. I'm going to turn this up some so you can hear it because it's kind of on the quiet side. Just a lovely, lovely, lovely harp. Just an incredible, incredible bread and butter strings library. This is just, to me, this is one of the best sounding symphonic string libraries I've ever heard. It's just incredible. The dynamic layers, again, I know I've said this over and over, but the dynamic layers, you can really feel them as you move through the mod wheel, and there's just a consistency between them. The editing in this library is just honestly impeccable. You just have a gorgeous symphonic sound, beautiful samples. The library feels alive. It feels real. It feels like real players are sitting in your room with you. One thing I forgot to mention that I'll quickly mention is that the pitch bend wheel has actually been repurposed in this library to actually allow you to extend the releases in some cases. So on some of the patches, you can actually use the pitch bend wheel to get a longer release on your samples, which is just fantastic. The only real drawbacks to this library, and they're small, you have no staccatos, which for a bread and butter library, I would have expected that, but that Marcato patch, you can really get away with using that as a staccato patch. I know that's not the intention, but you really can get away with that. Again, there's no dedicated Violins 2 patch. Not a big deal, as once again, you can create your own Violins 2 patch if you need to, and it's really not that big a deal in my mind. And some might complain about the slur in the legato. It's, there is a lot of slur in some of the legato. I personally like it. I think it sounds great, but I know there's been some complaints from some people that it's just a little bit too much portamento for them. I think it sounds fantastic again. So I hope you've enjoyed the review. Once again, this is Pacific Ensemble Strings by Performance Samples. Thanks for checking out Pacific Ensemble Strings with me today. So what do you think? Will Pacific Ensemble Strings become a part of your template? Could it even become your own workhorse library? What do you think about the sound and articulations on offer? Comment below and let us know what you think. Please like the video and share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure to check out SampleLibraryReview.com for more news and reviews, and stay in the know about weekly sales via our weekly deal compressor.